Gianni the Greek joins us on Big Board Sports, Pro Sports Better, and Gamble in Las Vegas, and thebigmoves.com. He's been with us before. We love him. We get a chance to bring him on. Big Board Sports on 104.5 A Team, ESPN Radio in Albany. Gianni the Greek, Roger Weiland, Chris Honorado. Good morning.
Thanks for having me. Busy weekend here in Las Vegas. I mean, it's been like that all week, but now as we converge those final 48 hours, it's when the big money starts to hit the window. And rest assured, Vegas has already taken a lot of betting action, but the majority doesn't come in until very late. As we know, most recreational bettor and casual bettors historically tend to bet much closer to game time as opposed to a lot of professional bettors that like to get out ahead of the betting market.
All right, so the game line right now, Patriots -4, the money line -190. Does it stay the course?
Here's the problem. They're not going to drop it any lower. It'll, even if it came in really heavy one-sided on the Philadelphia Eagles like it has thus far, the books don't want to put themselves in a position where they could get middled. And if they drop this line down to 3.5, that opens the door for this to happen. And what I mean by that is you'll get a lot of bettors that walk up and then buy the half point and end up having a New England -3 ticket in their pocket. And people that bet Philadelphia early have a Philadelphia +7 or even +6, 6.5 ticket in their pocket. Now, if the game lands 3, 4, 5, or 6, you're either paying both sides or pushing one side and paying the other. So that's the worst case scenario for the books. They never want to get middled, especially in the Super Bowl where they have to pay both sides. So they would rather take the risk of saying, you know what, let's just bet against the people. At least we know we're getting the best of it. They have to lay 11 to win 10. So at least they have that built-in edge for a little comfort. But rest assured, they do not want to go lower. It can go higher if Patriots money starts coming in like they expect. They think the big Patriot bets have yet to reach the window. When that happens, we may see the line go up a little, but I would really doubt, unless something significant happens, that you will see it get lower than the 4.
Gianni the Greek with us live from Las Vegas. Check him out on Twitter at Greek_Gambler. And Johnny, I hope we will get a pick from you before the segment is over with. But I want to ask you about some of the prop bets we've got on Sunday. And obviously the national anthem is one that is always so popular. And you tell me if it's in every book across Vegas, the one that I saw, the over-under being 2 minutes and the song being sung by Pink. Where do you think the money goes there?
Yeah, and then what's going to happen is probably within 24 hours of the game, you're going to get information that's going to leak out, whether it's from practice or whatever, and you're going to see the line start to move significantly, meaning the adjustment will be on the money line, where if it's at 2 minutes, if you want to go over 2 minutes, if information comes out that it went longer in practice, you're going to start seeing having to put up 150 or 200 to win 100 on that over. From everything I have heard so far, it seems to be the value on the over. At least right now, that's what most of the sharper bettors are thinking. It's that you're up there, and if anything, more times than not, they drag it out a little longer than it should be. And so you just get most of the money on the over.
Now, as I did a little bit of research on this game, I mean, the underdog here so far in the postseason, Gianni has fared pretty well, right? If you just go by the numbers, 8-1-1 against the spread.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a huge turnaround from what happened down the end of the season. Early in the season, the first 6 weeks of the season, it was great for Vegas. Favorites were losing at about a 60% clip. Everything was good up until week 7. Between week 7 and week 12, it was a historic event here in Las Vegas for the NFL where favorites covered at a 70% clip. So between week 7 and 12, they went 55, 24, and 6. If you just bet the favorites, they cashed 7 out of 10 tickets. That's bad for Vegas because more times than not, the bias of casual bettors is on the favorite and the over. So when that happens, and then the NFL is a betting market which is really saturated with more casual bettors than professional bettors, when a favorites win at that clip, it's going to cost Vegas a lot of money. So they were crying going into the playoffs of how bad it was. playoffs started, like you just touched on, the dogs got the money, the road teams got the money, the over-unders kind of split. It's been a great postseason for the sports books, and the underdogs, again, not only have covered in the playoffs of late, but we know the last handful of Super Bowls, the underdog has been a live play as well, and not surprisingly, it seems like that's where all the public money's been coming in so far.
The coin toss, tails is a slight favorite when I last checked early this morning. But, Johnny, I want to ask you about on the field an over-under number, and that's Nick Foles' passing yards. The over-under that I saw is set at 235.5. Obviously, he's been terrific in 2 postseason games this year. Is this the end for Foles, or does he continue to throw it like a 300-yard-a-game clip?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because as a professional bettor, I mean, we have to look at big sample sizes and not have a knee-jerk reaction over recency bias. And what I mean by that is when you look at Nick Foles, when he came in for Carson Wentz those final 2 weeks of the season, he looked terrible. There was no confidence in him running the Philadelphia Eagles. They were the first #1 seed to be an underdog at home in the playoffs. So, I mean, he really played well compared to what was expected of him in those 2 games. But you got to take a step back and look at a bigger sample size of his career. And there are going to be outliers where guys have great games or great seasons. He even had one in 2013 where it was, a Hall of Fame type season, and yet he regressed towards the mean and got traded 3 times since then. So you kind of expect most things regress and progress towards that mean. The only question is how long before that happens. 2-3 games, it's possible for him to outperform even his own, ability. But that can't be maintained. So over a course of a season, he's a bet against. But in one game, there's so much randomness involved that, it's tough to just say he's going to be terrible or he's going to be great based on last week or based more on his career. But as a professional bettor, I got to look at the law of big numbers. That's all I have on my side. And the law of big numbers tells me he should not be able to maintain this efficiency at the quarterback position. It's not expected. As far as passing yard prop, though, it's what do you think the Eagles are going to be behind or ahead?
Right.
Because if they're ahead in the game, he may not get there. If they're behind in the game, then he's going to be throwing the football like it or not, and then that passing yards all of a sudden, what looked like a dead under becomes an over. So there's a lot of factors to consider more than simply is he capable of throwing for that many yards. Will the game play out so that he's in a position to throw for that many yards?
Yeah, 299 average 2 playoff games for Nick Foles so far. I think he's sitting on a big game. We'll find out sooner than later. Gianni the Greek, what are you thinking here? What is your pick with the point spread? Who wins this game and how and why?
Right now, I'm going to tell you the truth of the matter is I think the best bet as far as value goes if you're a value bettor. And what I mean by value bettor is like Warren Buffett being a value investor. You don't worry about what the market's doing day by day. You're not worried about independent stocks or independent bets. You focus on the process. You repeat the process, rinse and repeat over and over and over again. And long term, you turn a profit because you get your money down when you're getting the best of it. That guarantees a long-term profit. In the short term, doesn't guarantee anything. Even if you're getting the best of it, there's, like I said, in a 60-minute football game, there's a lot of randomness. A football falls on the ground, it's 50-50 who's going to fall on it when it's a turnover. A bad call, a blown call. But for myself, I have to look at the value, and the value is on the New England Patriots, especially on the money line. And the reason is this. The money line, meaning they just have to win the game, is not a natural reflection of the point spread. On a normal Sunday, when you walk into the sports book and you look up and you see Team A is favored by 5.5 points over Team B. The money line for that's going to be around minus 230, 240, depending on the sports book. In this particular situation, even when New England was a 5.5 point favorite, the money line was only minus 200. The reason for that is because people betting the Eagles, and rather than take the points, they want to put up a little money to win a lot, so they're betting them on the money line. There becomes a disproportionate amount of money line bets, and that makes the money line drop so low that it's not an accurate reflection of what the spread is. Right now, the spread's -4, 4.5. That money line, I could find -180 out here in Vegas. It should be -200 at least. So win or lose that bet, I know I'm getting the best of it. I know for a fact it should be -200. I only have to lay -180. That's an automatic bet. For the point spread, I think it's also automatic if you're a value better. And win or lose, here's why. Prior to the AFC and NFC championship games, we went around and not only asked bookmakers, but bookmakers actually put up a number and were willing to take a bet on all 4 possible Super Bowls. And for Philadelphia versus New England, the line for that game was 6 or 7, depending on what sportsbook you walked in on Vegas. So they were all telling you they thought the line should be Eagles getting 6 or 7 points. Well, based on what happened in the NFC and AFC championship, perception changed. New England barely got past Jacksonville. Eagles looked like world beaters crushing Minnesota. And right away, the line, instead of bringing it out as high as it should, we're looking at a line that's 2.5 points lower. So value, it's the New England Patriots. Do the Eagles have the ability to beat them? Absolutely. Were they the best team in the NFL all season? Without a doubt. But they had someone else at the controls, and I just can't get over that it's Nick Foles on the road with Belichick having 2 weeks to prepare against Tom Brady and a team who less than 12 months ago was down 28-3 in this Super Bowl and came back to win. What happens if Foles and the Eagles find themselves down 10 points? That's the questions I can't get over. And being a Philadelphia guy, and as much as I want to go to that parade and celebrate with friends, I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I just think New England knows how to win these kind of games. They don't make mistakes, and they're just going to be patient enough to let Philly find ways to beat themselves. I like New England, and I think New England money line is a great bet, again, based on the fact that you're getting such a better number than what it should be.
Gianni the Greek, man, you are the man. Thanks so much for a few minutes. That's just great stuff, knowledge of everything you got going on. As you said, it's going to start cranking up even more with kickoff approaching.
It's electric, man. It's a great time. If you don't get a chance to go to the Super Bowl, I haven't, and I love the game, and I just haven't had the opportunity to go to one. Vegas is probably the second best, if not the best place to come for a Super Bowl. And if you do, I highly recommend coming for a couple days prior, because there's so many events, so much going on. It's absolutely electric. So it's one of the times you ain't going to be able to hit the swimming pools, but it doesn't matter. It's a great time to be in Vegas. So again, if you can't go to the Super Bowl, come out here. It's a good time.
All right, Gianni, thanks again for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, fellas. Enjoy the game. Make some money.